Hello everyone, I'm Suswara. Today I have something very interesting for all of you. I'm here with Mr. Nishant Kasibhatla. Hello Nishant, welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
He is a Guinness record holder and a Grand Master of Memory. How cool is that? Could you tell us a little bit about your record and what it's like to be a Grand Master of Memory?
Grandmaster of Memory is not something that a lot of people are familiar with. So there's something which is called as the World Memory Championship.
Mm-hmm.
So where people from all over the world, people like me, they
Mhm.
come and compete against each other as to how good your memory is. So of course there is a certain criteria that you need to pass, and
Mhm.
then when you do that, you become a grandmaster. So I've been that. And coming back to the Guinness book, so my Guinness book record was I broke a record for memorizing a long sequence of colors that was shown to me just one time. So 100 different colors were shown to me. And after that, I had to close my eyes and recall the exact sequence of colors that were shown to me.
Oh,
So that's the
wow.
Guinness record.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, that sounds bizarre. How
It-
did
it-
you even do it?
I mean, it sounds bizarre, but the thing is, this is what my message is for today as well. This is something that anyone on the planet can do it. It sounds impossible. It sounds incredible. It sounds something that, only few gifted people can do it. But anyone on the planet can do it if you have the right techniques and you practice.
Oh my god, I had no clue. So could you tell us about those techniques or tricks? A lot of us need it.
Yeah, definitely. So, see, you can call them tricks, you can call them tips, you can call them techniques, whatever you want to call them. So, let's start from something which is very basic, which
Okay.
all of us have learned at school. Like, for example, how do you remember the colors of the rainbow? Right? So, you take out the first letters.
Yes.
So, the technique is called as mnemonics.
Yes.
It's spelled Mnemonics. It doesn't start with the letter N, it starts with the letter M. So, mnemonics. So, mnemonics, in simpler words, it's basically you take something that is difficult for you to remember and you rearrange it in a way that makes it easy for you to remember.
Right.
So let's say you want to remember the 7 colors of the rainbow. So one of the ways to do that is the first color is violet, for example. You take out the first letter V, I, B, and then we remember it with Vibjor. And for those of you who are watching from not from India, from different parts of the world, probably you have learned it as Roy G. Biv. It's very interesting,
right,
that people outside of India or that part of the world, they remember the colors of the rainbow the other way, which is very interesting. But anyway, that's the mnemonics. Or for example, if you talk about mathematics, so probably you heard about PEMDAS or BODMAS.
Yes.
So the mathematical order of operations.
Right.
So that is a very basic technique of how you can remember information in a better fashion. So that's the mnemonics. That's one of the tricks that you could do. It's not always possible. A lot of times when you may not be able to do that. So let me also take you to the next level, which is something that you could do with almost anything that you want to learn, and that I call it as testing.
Testing. Okay.
A lot of people really underestimate the importance of testing. So what I mean by that, so typically in a learning experience, let's say you're watching a video, you're learning something, maybe it's an online course, or maybe you're reading a book, you're flipping through the pages. So typically what happens with most of the people is they read through the pages, and let's say they have a goal, page number 40 is when the chapter ends, for example. So they come to chapter 40, close the book, and then say, done, I've learned it. But you haven't, because just reaching page 40 doesn't mean anything at all if you can't recall it. So my suggestion for this is the next technique is, my suggestion is you should never ever end your learning session without testing yourself. So let's say you went from page 1 to page 40, you finished it, and before you run to next thing, just pause for a while and say, okay, I've learned these 40 pages. What did I learn? What did I recall? So what did I learn in the process? Just test yourself. Now, yes, it'll take time, it'll take effort, but let me just tell you, it's totally worth it. Because here's my thing. This is totally intriguing to me. A lot of people expect to remember what they learned 3 days later, 7 days later.
Right.
Now, if you can't even remember right now,
right.
How do you expect to remember 7 days later? So test it yourself right now. Okay, if you can do it, congratulations, go ahead and do something else. If you haven't, then I say it is your obligation, it is your duty to go back, review, test yourself, and do it. So this is basically called as active recall. In the scientific world, we call it active recall, but simply it's basically testing. So that is the second technique that you have. So I was talking about, number 1 was mnemonics, number 2 was testing, and also there's some more advanced techniques, like for example, number 3. Let's talk about number 3.
So before we go to number 3,
yes,
could I maybe test your memory?
Yeah, I'm game for that anytime.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my
sure. Let's
God.
do that.
Okay. So
Okay.
how do you want to do it?
Okay, so this is what typically I do that. So what I want you to do is on your phone or somewhere wherever you're
Yeah.
comfortable, write a 30-digit random number. So
Okay.
any number at all. So write 30 digits. So to make it easy for you to count, you can write 6 digits on each line, 5 lines.
So 5 lines. Okay.
Yeah. So 30 single digit numbers. So you write them, and then let me know when you're done, and then we'll take it off.
Okay. So anything randomly?
Total random. It's just like a telephone number is a 10-digit, for example.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you to write a 30-digit telephone number. That's all. Yeah. It could be anything at all.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Let me know when it's done.
Yes.
You done? Sure. You got six lines on 6 digits on each line and 5 lines. Okay.
Yes.
So here's how it's going to go. So you speak out the first digit. I'll close my eyes and I'll try to do what I call as registration, and we'll come back to that in a while when we talk about the techniques here.
Okay.
So after you say the first digit, I will say right. When I say right, then you tell me the next digit, and so on and so forth, all the way to 30 digit. So let's. I hope to show you something interesting about what the power brain can do. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
4.
Right.
5.
Right.
6.
Right.
7.
Right.
3.
Right.
4.
Right.
7.
Right.
8.
Right.
9.
Right.
0.
Right.
2.
Right.
3.
Right.
1.
Right.
2.
Right.
8.
Right.
0.
Right.
5.
Right.
4.
Right.
3.
Right.
4.
Right.
0.
Right.
2.
After 3, 4 was what is the number again?
0.
0 and 2.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
6.
Right.
5.
Right.
5.
Right.
6.
Right.
3.
Right.
8.
Right.
3.
Right.
4.
Right. Okay. So that's 30 digits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recall these numbers.
Okay.
So if I make a mistake, say stop. So I'll correct myself.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see how it goes. Okay. The numbers are 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 0, 2, 3, 6.
Stop.
Oh, no, it's 1. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. So after 2, 3 is 1, 2, 8, 0. Then it's 5, 4, 3, 4, 0, 2, 6, 5, 5, 6, 3, 8, 3, 4.
Oh my god. That's all of it. That's right.
It is actually. So
how did you do it here, right now?
Actually, you know what? It's good that you taught me right at the number 2 technique I was talking about, because actually I used number 3, number 4, number 5 for this. So which is perfect. Okay. So I can actually tell you how actually I've done it.
Right.
Exactly. So I mean, we didn't know that that's where it's going to go. That's good. Right. Okay. It sounds incredible, and actually it is. But there is a method of how I do that. So I talked about mnemonics as number 1. I talked about testing as number 2, and these are simple, and anyone should be doing it if you get a chance to do that. Okay, now let's go a little bit advanced. So the next 3 techniques, I call them VAP, VAP. Okay, what does it stand for? V stands for visualization. Okay. Now, you'll agree with me probably, or probably everyone will agree that brains remember pictures better than anything else. So that's also, it is said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So whatever you see in a picture format, you remember that for a longer time. So one of the ways of how you can learn information faster, if there is a way, is to try to visualize it somehow.
Okay.
Okay, it's not always possible, but when it is possible, you definitely should try to convert that into some kind of a picture, turn it into a picture. That's visualization. Now, A stands for association. Association simply means linking.
Okay.
So it's basically linking what you want to learn with something that you already remembered in the past. So I'll give an example in a while.
Okay.
So association is whatever new information that you're learning, you connect it or link it or form some association with something that you already know. That's A. And P is pleasure. Now, pleasure means fun. Now, it's very unfortunate that a lot of people, when it comes to improving their memory, when it comes to committing things to memory, they don't have fun.
Right.
They have stress.
Right.
They're going for panic all the time.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, the more you are panicking, the harder it is for your brain to remember information. Because when your brain is not relaxed, when your brain is stressed out, memory and stress, they do not live together.
Right.
So if you're panicking, if you're stressed out, if you're anxious, I'm going to remember or not, and you're feeling anxious about it, it's not going to work. So you have to have a way of how you can learn information in a fun way, because that's the reason why it says that when learning is fun, learning is easy.
Right.
Right. So, okay, now we have VAP. Now, first of all, I'll give you one example, and then I'll come into how I remember the numbers. Okay. So let me give an example. Now, growing up in Hyderabad, one of the first goal that I had was to really speak good English. A lot of people said that the first thing that you need to do is to improve your vocabulary. So probably a lot of people in India know this book called Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis, and so that's one of my formative books of how I started picking up different words. So from not that book, but one of the first words I've learned was the word hegemony. Hegemony, and the meaning of hegemony is domination of one country over another. Now, a typical way of learning that word would be, in India we call ratta, right? Or batti, right? Rattafication. So you just go through hegemony, domination, hegemony, domination, hegemony, domination, hegemony, domination. You can do that, and the problem with that is some words will stick, most words will not stick.
Right.
So you'll forget them. So it's just short-term memory. So what you need is, if you can use the VAP and then you testing, then it's going to be much easier. I'll give you an example. This is exactly how I learned it some 25 years ago. I still can remember crystal clear what's the meaning of hegemony, because I made the connection. I'll give you an example. So hegemony, I don't know what that is. It's the first time I've heard the word hegemony. It's an English word, but I've not heard this word before. Hegemony. Now what I want to do is I want to visualize this. How do I visualize? So think of some words that sound like hegemony. My words were huge money. It's not exactly hegemony. But now what's the difference? Hegemony, I can't visualize it. Huge money, I can see a pile of cash, I can see lots of money. Huge money, I can definitely see that. Right? That's visualization. So now I have successfully converted the information into a picture. Right. Now association, you have to connect huge money with the meaning, which is domination of one country or another, and do it in the P, pleasure, in a fun manner. So the way I did it many years ago was, if a country has huge money, it can easily dominate other countries. Right. Now, is it true? I don't know. I don't care.
No, it's
but it usually is true. It usually is true. That's what's happening in some parts of the world, I guess, these days. But huge money, if a country has huge money, it can easily dominate other countries. Now, what did I do? I have visualized the information. I have associated the information. I had fun in the process. And of course, by even saying this, I was testing this myself. In the process, I remember this thing. And using this technique, I have actually learned some thousands and thousands of words.
Wow.
So which is awesome. The VAP. Now you might be still wondering, okay, how did I remember the numbers?
Yes.
Right? So what I do with the numbers is, it's a little bit more advanced, obviously.
Okay.
So what I do is, I have a ready-made image for all digits from 00 to 99.
Wow. Okay.
So it's just 100 digits, right? Okay. It's just 100 images. So 00 is a particular image for me. So 01 is another image. 02 is another image. 99 is another image. So when you are speaking these numbers out, I was not focusing on the numbers. I mean, I was, of course, but what I'm trying to do what I'm trying to say was, so let's say you said the number, the first two digits were 4, 5.
Yes.
So when you said 4, 5, I'm not remembering 4-5. I'm remembering the picture that I have for 4-5, which happens to be a fig, one of those dried fruits.
Oh,
So
okay.
45 is fig. So every time I say 45, it's a fig. Right? Now,
Wow.
why it's a
Okay.
fig? That's my picture. If you want to create your own picture database, you
It
can
can be
create your own.
anything?
It could be anything. Doesn't matter.
Wow.
It has to
Okay.
be a picture, but
Okay.
it
Okay.
can't be like something which is not a picture. It can't
Yeah.
be like, for example, 45 cannot be think.
And so it can't be abstract.
It can't be abstract because
Right.
see, visualization, you have to be able to visualize
Yeah.
information, right?
Yeah.
So the next two digits is
Mhm.
6-7. Again, 6-7 is a lizard for me.
Okay.
Why is it a lizard? That's my picture. It's been there for a long time. That's what I
Okay.
have. So the first step, I've successfully converted these 30 digits
Into
into
images.
15 pictures,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
Then the next thing is association. So then, of course, this requires practice. And what I do is I take the first picture, which is say a fig, and then I visualize that on the fig there is a lizard, and the lizard is something else, blah blah blah. So it's like a kind
You
of
spin a
it's
story.
it's a story, absolutely.
You need good imagination for memory then?
No, it sounds like it,
Right.
but just like anything else, it's practice, right?
Right.
So the first time you do it, maybe you may not get the idea immediately, but
Right.
that's the reason. If you try to stretch your imagination, if you try to force yourself to link these two things in a bizarre or incredible or a fun
Mhm.
or a different manner, your brain will help you, because the problem is we have not uh, pushed our brain to do this in the past.
Right.
So that's exactly what I did. So I converted numbers into pictures, associated them, do it in a fun way, and then I recalled it everything, and then that's how I did it.
That's so cool. So you had said mnemonics.
Yes.
And active recall, that is testing.
Yes.
Then visualization, then association,
Right.
and then pleasure, having fun in the process.
Exactly.
So it sounds so doable, right?
Yeah.
So can anyone just do feats like this?
Absolutely. So
Really?
100%. I mean, okay, coming back to my story.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of times people ask me this question, hey, when did you realize that you had a good memory? That's a frequently asked question for me. When you realize you have a good memory. Now, I didn't realize. One day I didn't wake up and say, oh, I have a good memory. No, that didn't happen. So one day I consciously chose to improve my memory because I was struggling in school. I really wanted to do well, and luckily I had some access to some books on memory. I just geeked on those things and slowly started piecing together information and trying to experiment, and slowly I could remember information. And of course I took it to the extreme by a lot of practice. Now again, see, anything in the world, if you want to achieve any skill, you only need three things. This is what I believe. Okay, the first is belief. Right. Believe that you are able to do that. You could do that. So if you don't have the belief, all the techniques, nothing is going to work. So the first thing is belief. I believed, even though I had a terrible memory to begin with, I believed that, what, if I have the right techniques, I can really improve. That's the first thing. Second thing, knowledge. The third thing is action. These are only three ingredients for success, in my opinion. You get the right belief, you got the right knowledge, and you take the right amount of action. So in my opinion, or in my experience, I would say that I don't know how I got it. I'm blessed to be able to say this, that I had enormous belief in my capacity. Maybe it's because the kind of environment I was in, my parents, they're pushing me further, they're encouraging me. So I had belief and I had the right access to knowledge, and I just went all out on taking action. So if you have the right techniques, and of course, today we'll not be able to cover everything, all there is as far as memory is concerned, but let's just say, use mnemonics, use testing, use visualization, association, consciously try to apply it in whatever you are learning in your life. This is the right knowledge, no doubt about it. But the question is, are you willing to take action? Right. And do you believe you can do it? So the onus is now on you or the viewer. So if you want to do it, I gave you the way of how to do it. It's just a question of taking action. That's actually very inspiring. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So as you said everyone can do it, but are there any individual differences that come into play when you see memory in a big scenario? Does everyone remember the same way, or are there any specific factors that affect people's memory? That's a great question, because I think when it comes to the process of memory, how the human brains remember information it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
Irrespective of who the person is,
Right.
what the experience is. I'll explain to you. There's actually I call it the 3 R's of memory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's registration, retention, recall.
Right.
So registration means the process of storing information into your brain. So it's typically, you open the book and you try to learn information, you are registering the information, right? That's the first thing, which everyone does it. But the problem is, are you using the right ways of registration, or are you using improper registration? Because you could be spending 10 hours on books and still cannot remember anything because you're not doing proper registration.
Right.
So the first thing, that's first is registration. The second step is retention. Retention means, okay, like for example, I remember those numbers. Can I still retain it even now? That is your ability to retain information. Typically for school students or for college students, it's, right now you're in semester 4. Can you still remember what happened in semester 1? Right. What was taught in semester 1? So for example, that's retention. So how long and how well can you remember the information that's registered? That's the second process. And the third process, which is what many people call it memory, is recall. Right. So that's by testing, right? So now, how do you know I have a good memory? You ask me to recall. Right. I recall it, and you say everything is correct. Then okay, good, I'm done. So everyone on the planet, if you want to learn anything, you have to follow the process. Right. You have to register well, you have to retain it, and you recall it. Now, in spite of the process being same, it is just like everything else in life. Individual differences definitely come into play. So depending on the person's lifestyle, the level of education the person has, the kind of experiences the person has, right? So all those things will actually come into play. Does age come into play? Good question. Now this is a big myth. Okay. Oh. This is definitely a big myth. A lot of times people come to me and say, oh, I'm 30 years old, I'm 40 years old, I'm 50 years old, I'm 60 years old, I'm getting old, I think I'm going to, this is just natural for me to forget. And many people, right, they take age as an excuse to forget. Right. I said, hey, why do you forget? Oh, I'm 60, man. What do you think? What do you expect? And again, this is because this is a myth that has been so much propagated. Everyone just goes by that. Goes by that. Now, right. But here's the thing. Just like physical fitness, have you seen people who are 60 years, 70 years and still physically fit? Yeah. You have, right? Now, here's the thing. Now, that person who's 70 years, who's still physically fit, was he born like that, or did he train for that? He probably trained for that. Yes. Of course, there are some genetic differences that we definitely have to take into consideration. But otherwise, that person chose to be physically fit. Now, similarly, same thing with mental fitness. At any age, you can choose to be mentally fit. You can choose to improve memory. Of course, as you age, naturally, memory power will decline. But it doesn't have to be that way. Right. At any time, you can intervene and say, you know what, I'm going to start using mnemonics. I'm going to start using testing. I'm going to visualize, associate, pleasure, practice, and I'm going to believe, and you can change your life at any age. So age, yes, it plays a factor. Again, it goes back to the belief, right? Right. So whether you have the wrong belief or right belief. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as the science is concerned, it's just a myth. Thank you so much for busting that myth, actually. Yeah, a lot of people needed that, I think, because it's an excuse for so many people nowadays. They're like, oh, I just forgot, I don't remember. And I feel like a lot of people just say that, I don't remember it. What do you think might be the reason for it to be such a huge thing? They're like so easy about forgetting. Again, great questions. So the way I see it is, I want to split it up into 2 sections here. The first is what I call as lifestyle, and second is what I call as attention. So I'll tell you what I mean by lifestyle. Now, it's very common for people these days to say, I'm not able to remember information, it's too difficult, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's true. I mean, people do have difficulty. Yes. The first and the easy fix for that, which many people take it for granted, is a lifestyle. What I mean by lifestyle? 3 things. Sleep, diet, exercise. Wow. 3 very simple things that are very much in our control. That help other things too. So a lot of things, everything, not only mental fitness, but also so many aspects of our life will be much better if you take off these things. Right. So the question is, are you getting adequate sleep? Are you getting well rested sleep? Right. Number 2, are you choosing your food based on nutrition or based on diet? Now, of course, we all have cheat days, and we all have those days. That's fine. But generally, as a way of life, as a way of lifestyle, what is the kind of food. Because the thing is, say you are not sleeping well,
Mhm.
you're drowsy and you're foggy the next day, you feel brain fog and all that, obviously you can't learn.
Right.
Or you're eating food that is not helping your brain, so obviously you'll feel more lethargic.
Right.
And
right.
same thing when it comes to exercise, right?
Mhm.
So if you're not exercising well, that actually also affects your brain. So like they say, whatever is good for the body is good for the brain.
That's a good formula to go by, I
Because the
guess.
brain is a part of the body at the end of the day.
Right.
So what is
Yeah.
good for, so sleep is good for the body, diet is good for the body, exercise is good for the body, which also means it's good for the brain. So, and many people take this for granted. So a question for everyone who's watching, ask yourself this question. In the last 1 week,
Mhm.
how many days I had good, well-rested sleep? How many days in the last 7 days I chose nutritious and very rich food, not for taste but more for nutrition.
Mhm.
And the last 7 days, how many days you actually chose to do exercise? So if the answer is yes, I can say confidently that your memory is much better than most of the people, because this one directly impacts your memory. I'm not even talking memory techniques here. This is lifestyle changes, right?
Mhm.
So the reason why many people say they don't have good memories, first of all, they take these things for granted.
Mhm.
Okay, that is easy to fix. I mean, I think it's easy to fix, but for many people it's not
Right,
so
right.
easy. So I mean, this happens. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing I told you is attention. Now this is even more crazy than that.
Mhm.
So the way I see it, okay. So let me do some word play here, right? So how do you spell the word forget?
Forget.
Great. What are the last 3 letters of forget?
Get.
And how do you say that?
Get.
Get. Okay. Now we have the word forget.
Yeah.
And we have the word get.
Right.
Now here's the secret. First I'll tell you the secret, then I'll decode what that means. Okay.
Mhm.
Before you can forget anything, you first have to get it.
Mhm.
Okay, what do you mean by that? A lot of times people go through information or they shake hands. Let's say we are meeting for the first time.
Right.
Typically is what happens. Hi,
Hi.
I'm Nishant. You are?
I'm Suswara.
How
Nice
are you
to
doing?
meet you.
Boom, the name is just gone. I don't know what you just said. Now, a lot of people say that, hey, sorry, I forgot your name. The question is,
Yeah.
hey, you really forget? Probably you didn't even get it in the first
Right.
place.
Right.
So it's attention. Now,
Yeah.
probably, everyone knows that, if you
Everyone's
had,
experienced that, I guess, many times.
yeah, that is a common experience, definitely. But let's
Yeah.
go back to school days. Now, everyone who's been to school, they know that they always have these teachers. They keep on telling you, please pay attention.
Right.
Your teachers were giving away the biggest memory secret of all time. But the only problem was your teachers didn't tell you how to pay attention.
Right.
That's a different thing. But the thing is, attention. Attention is such a game changer in today's world. Especially, we're living in a world of social media. Distractions are rife all over the place.
Right.
Now, I can tell you, the person who wins
Hmm?
is the person who can say no to distractions and focus on the thing at work. So it's basically the power of attention. So, okay, coming back to memory now, attention. So let's say you're reading a book. What typically happens? Normal procedure for many people, open the book or going through a video, learning something, or in a lecture even for that matter. So you're reading a book, and then what do you have beside you? Your phone.
Yeah.
And then what happens with the phone? After every 5 minutes it beeps,
Yeah,
right?
notification.
And then notification,
pops
all that. And here's a crazy thing.
Right.
Even when the notification beeps,
Mhm.
you look at it, even if you do not reply to it, even if you do not attend to it, the very act of you momentarily leaving the learning zone and going to that zone and coming back, you just messed up with
Right.
your attention.
The whole thing.
And the whole thing is gone. And you know why attention is critical? Because without attention, there is no registration.
Right.
And without registration, there is no retention. And without retention,
there is no
recall.
Right.
So people take this for so much of granted, but this is the key. So when people say, I forgot, the question to ask yourself is, hey, did you even get it in the first place?
Right.
So yeah. That's what I would say.
Right. So we were just talking about how technology is very distracting all the time and all
Yes,
of it.
it does.
But we use it so much. And one of its main features is that it can store how much ever information, right? There is like no limit to it.
Right.
We often rely on technology to store pretty much everything about us.
True.
So in the digital era that we're living in, what
Correct.
is the significance of having a good memory ourselves?
Yeah, that's again a great question. So it's all about training your brain.
Mhm.
I've probably heard this phrase before: use it or lose it.
Right.
And this is absolutely true when it comes to your brain power or your memory power.
Mhm.
If you don't train your memory, if you don't use your memory, you're going to lose it. Right? So that's the reason why I would say that, even though, yeah, it is true that the technology, the devices, the digital devices, everything, you can store a ton of information.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying you should remember everything. That will be tedious. That's counterproductive, and you
Mhm.
should not do that. But what I'm saying is, choose to remember critical information
Right.
about the important projects
Mhm.
that you're currently working on or you previously worked on. Because when you do that, when you train your brain that way, so actually it's going to help you. So again, it's the same thing with the physical fitness and same with the mental fitness. If you use your body, you become better. If you use your brain, you become better in that. So what I would say is, if you train your recall ability by committing things to memory, even though in the technology age, but only choosing to remember the important and critical information. So I would say it has multiple advantages. Number one, you will gain the ability to learn new skills fast.
Right.
Because if you're a person who's constantly committing things to memory, you're recalling, you're visualizing, you're associating, you'll be a person who will be learning new skills fast. And learning new skills fast is a total game changer in today's world, because
Yes.
things are changing so much. You should be learning new skills quickly, and you just by training your memory, training your brain, will be able to do that. That's a first advantage I would say. Number two is that it's a very good active training for your memory, for your brain. Now, when people talk about physical fitness, they know what to do. Whether they do it or not, they know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, do yoga, go hiking,
Yeah.
climbing, biking,
Yeah.
all those things. But when it comes to mental fitness, what do people do? Rarely anything. So one of the ways of how you can do mental fitness is doing that. And also, I think one of the biggest advantages of training your memory is you can be seen and you can be the go-to expert in your field. Nowadays, that's very important. How do you distinguish from everyone else, right? So you be the thought leader in that field, you be the expert in that field. So which means that people will be asking questions. You should use seminars, you should be on podcasts.
Right.
And so if you have all the critical information at your disposal in your brain, you come across as a person who's a professional.
Yes.
So yeah, so don't remember everything, but remember things that are important for you, and keep doing it a lot. Don't stop doing it. So that's my take on that.
But
Yeah.
how much can we remember the human brain?
Okay, again, there's a scientific research on this.
Right.
So from what I have seen based on the research, so we can remember, the brains can remember up to 2.5 million gigabytes of information. Now, of course,
Wow.
it's just an estimate. There's no way you could really see and test that, but that's
Yeah.
how far you can go.
That's
So
a lot.
it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can remember, store everything in your brain, you still will have place left.
Right.
It's a lot. So that's the reason why people, I know some people, it's like a joke to me, right? When people say, oh, why not learning it? Oh, I'm learning too much, I don't want to cram my brain power. No.
You're not doing that.
You will never do that. Here's a very interesting thing. This is the most amazing thing I've learned in the field of memory. The more you remember, the more you can remember. So you keep remembering a lot of things, it actually increases your capacity. Because remember, I told you the brain learns by association.
Right.
If you learn too much, if you learn a lot, and you can use that to hold on to new information.
Right.
So yeah, don't stop learning, don't stop remembering. So don't worry about you will be overusing your memory capacity. It never happens.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we do have practices, like for example, in the Telugu culture, we
Yes.
have avadhanam, which
Yes.
is a very complicated process, and the poets, they basically remember thousands of poems, and they have to remember some on the spot, and they have to make up some, and they're interrupted in this procedure called aprastuta prasangam, right?
It's true, yes.
So you had already mentioned that you have to pay attention to
Yes.
whatever information you're taking in. So how do they do it?
Okay, so I mean, I don't have like first-hand information as to how they do that, but I've done my own research on this thing. And first of all, hats off to these people who do this, because it's an incredible feat of literature. It's an incredible feat of memory, incredible feat of brain power. So hats off to the people who do that. Now, having said that, if I were to decode how they do it, so I would probably give it like 3 stages or 3 things rather. First thing is they have an absolute good command on how the brain works, how the memory works. Because at the end of the day, even though it's a literary feat, it's also a memory feat. So they are using mnemonics, they are using testing, they are using visualization, they are using association, they are using pleasure, and also using some advanced technique. For example, one of the most advanced techniques in memory, like when I do my workshops or when I do my courses, I talk very in depth in this program, in this course, in this technique, which is called the method of loci, or it's also called memory palace. So this is a technique where you take the locations of a familiar place, and then you store the information what you want to learn by linking it with the locations. Now, I have a serious, almost confirmed belief that Astavadanis or any kind of Avadani, they are using some form of the loci method as well. So they use the memory techniques. That's number one. Number two is they're also working very hard, or not very hard, I would say, but they have a very good command on the literary field. Like, for example, they are experts, or they put a lot of work on the grammar. The how the poems work, the entire system, the the prosody or whatever you call it, the figures of speech, and also deep knowledge of mythological information, all that stuff. So that's number two. So they have memory techniques, they have literature, and the third thing is what I said at the beginning: belief, knowledge, action. First of all, they have the belief that they can do it. Second, they have the knowledge of how to do that. Third, action. They do a lot of action. They practice a lot, and every time you do it, you become better at it. So this is what I do it. And I mean, my guess is if anyone goes through the same rigor that they go through and have access to these techniques, anyone on the planet can do that. Even the very advanced techniques you just mentioned? Absolutely, everyone on the planet can do that. So it doesn't have to be, you don't need to think about your background or whatever. So if you have the right techniques, you have the belief, you take the action, boom, you will get the results. That's amazing. Yeah, it is. Also, I just remembered A.R. Rahman had tweeted about you. Yeah, which is unbelievable. Oh my God. I mean, one of my cousins told me that, A.R. Rahman tweeted a video of mine. I said, I mean, it can't be the real A.R. Rahman. So some fan, something like that. But yeah, it was true actually. He did that. I mean, yeah, thinking about A.R. Rahman, I know that you are a musician and a singer, right? Right. So I want to tell you something interesting about the importance of memory in music. But before that, so can you just sing something? Sure. About I mean, I'm totally zero in music, but I know that you are the expert. So just sing something, and we'll come back to memory in a bit after that. Sure. Yeah. Re pa ma re sa ni sa re ma pa da pa sa ni da ni da pa ma ga re sa ni da sa re ma ga re sa re ga da pa ga re sa re ga pa da sa re sa da pa ga re sa ni sa ma ga ma ni da ni pa da ni sa ga re sa da ga re ni da ma ga re sa da sa. Okay, now it's my time to get impressed. That was incredible. That's really good. Now, here's the thing. Now, for a person like me who's totally uninitiated about the music, I mean, I'm as a listener, I just enjoy it. But there's a lot of things going on in the brain, and let me ask you this question. It's, from my standards, it's a memory feat already, because to be able to remember everything and sing in tune, that's incredible. That requires memory ability. The question I ask you is, what is the system that you use for that? I don't exactly know. I just started doing this particular one is actually kind of my favorite one, because like each line is in a different raga, so you get a different combination of notes in each line. I guess I just got it because I did it so many times and I love doing it. So I don't know about this specifically, but there are other things in music that I've actually used some memory techniques for. Oh, you did? So yeah. I'd like to know about that. You had actually mentioned mnemonics. Yes. So in Carnatic classical music, we have a system called the 72 Melakarta system. Okay. So it's a list of 72 scales, and they're classified
first into two halves and then into more subsections.
Okay.
So
you have to remember all of that.
We kind of do have to remember all of those.
Okay, cool.
So there is a logic behind it, but it's not exactly relevant to the memory part of it. Okay. So my guru is my mother, Dr. T.K. Saroja, and her guru is Sri N.C.H. Krishnamacharya Garu.
Okay.
He came up with this idea that you can just remember all of these 72 by their chakra. Chakra is a set of 6 of these scales. Okay. So you remember the first letter of each scale's name.
Correct.
So that way you just remember all of them.
Can you give an example if I'm
right? Yeah. So the first one is Karagava Mata.
Okay, the first chakra is okay.
Karagava Mata.
Got it.
Kanakangi, Ratnangi, Ganamurti, Vanaspati, Manavati, and Tanarupi. That's the first
those
6.
are the things which you actually have to remember.
Those are the names of the scales.
But then the first letters is the technique that
Karagava
you were taught.
Yeah. Okay. And so the next ones also are like that. Seha, Dhena, Koru. So all of them basically. All 72 in sets of 6 that they are already classified into. So we just remember the first letters of each of their names and we remember the entire chakra. Hence we remember the entire system. So
first of all, thanks for sharing that. That's very interesting. Now the second thing is, the reason why I said that, ask you to sing, is simply because any field of expertise, whether it is music or chess or athletics or even just whatever I'm doing. So I believe that there is always an element of memory in it. Right. Now in your case, one of the things you said, you actually consciously used a technique, which is mnemonics, which is the first letters. That's great, and you could actually learn it, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I thought Vipjor is only 7 letters, but yours is like 72. It's a lot more than that. So, but you successfully can do that. That's number one. For the second thing, the other thing that you sang, that one you said it's just pure practice and all that. Now, but if you go down deeper into it, I have a gut feeling that, I mean, I'm zero in music, so pardon me if I'm making any mistakes here, but I'm just guessing that, there is a specific patterns that you have to follow, a specific scale that you have to go through, and whatever ragas that you have to pack it in, everything. So there's a lot of things going on. Now, my gut feeling is unconsciously, unknowingly, so you are actually using all these things, and of course you're using active recall and everything as well. So that actually helps you to remember information. Now, the reason I say all these things, the purpose of saying all these things is, without using a conscious memory technique, if you could do so well, if you use active recall, if you use more mnemonics, visualization, association, and fun, I think you already have that. It's already there. And so you could do so much more. And also, this reminds me, one more interesting aspect about memory is, inherently, anything that has a rhyme to it, you tend to remember that in a much better fashion. Because I know some people who actually can remember answers by singing them in their favorite tone and all that.
Yeah, people remember the periodic table like that too, and 100 digits of pi and
exactly.
All that.
So basically, I would say that you are actually, without your knowledge, you already have a skill where you can use the power of rhyme, the power of the song, power of music, which you can add into the whole process, and you can do that. So the whole process of why I bring this up is simply because, whether it's music or whether it's anything in the world, if you use the right techniques consciously, you could do so much better. Remember, I told you that you can become the go-to expert. That is how you can become, which you are an expert, but you can go even further by using these techniques.
I didn't even know what was going on, but now that I do, I think I'm going to work on it. Yeah, that's a promise. I'll work on it. Yeah, awesome. I think I'm going to do better.
That's good.
Thank you so much for letting me know too.
No problem at all. Thanks for that thing. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you.
So you mentioned that you teach a course too, and after watching all this, I'm sure a lot of people would want your guidance. And how can we contact you, and could you tell us a little bit about your course?
So there are a couple of ways of you can learn more from me. Number one, you can go to YouTube, type my name, Nishant Kasibhatla. I'm the only one in the entire world with that name. If you can figure out my spelling, that's a different issue altogether. But I mean, the spelling here is flashing probably in the video. So you type that name, you can see the video. I think I've got about 150 videos so far. Okay. So a lot of information, you can get it for free. And if you're interested to learn more about the techniques, I have what I call the world's best techniques on 3 different courses. How to improve your memory, how to learn skills faster,
right,
and how to supercharge your grades for students.
Okay.
So all the 3 courses are there, and you can go to my website, which is easy to remember, I guess. It's remembernishant.com.
Remember Nishant.
So I hope after all this, you'll remember my name, and remembernishant.com is my website. So that's how you can approach me.
Yes, thank you so much for giving so much information for all of us.
My pleasure. It's really a pleasure. I really had fun doing this interview. Thank you.
I did too. Oh my God, I learned so much. I'm sure everyone did actually.
That's my goal. Yeah.
So what would you, as a memory expert, say to everyone that's watching and everyone that might be interested in looking into anything about their memories or not even?
Okay. So what I say as a final message, is that what you're saying? Okay. So see, I mean, like I already said, probably a few times in today's video. So memory is a skill which can be consciously improved to any level you want in your life. So again, it goes back to, do you have the right belief? Do you have the right knowledge? And are you willing to take the right action? So if you do that at any age, at any background, at any level you are in, even if you right now think you don't have a good memory, you can start right now and you can change your memory, you can change your brain power, you can change your learning style. Eventually, you change your life. So it starts by training your memory from today. That's my message.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll show you something interesting, right? Okay. Okay, so give me any number between 1 and 30. Just choose a random number between 1 and 30.
13.
13, okay. Now look at the number, and if I'm not wrong, the 13th digit in that number should be 1.
Don't even know.
Is it true? Is it correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so not only that, okay, now you asked me to recall the number. Let me just challenge myself now. Okay. Let me see if I can recall the number in the reverse order. Okay. All the way from the last digit to the first digit. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. And again, just stop me if I'm making mistakes. I'll correct it. Okay. The numbers are 4, 3, 8, 3, 6, 5, 5, 6, 2, 0, 4, 3, 4, 5, 0, 8, 2, 1, 3, 2, 0, 9, 8, 7, 4, 3, 7, 6, 5. Is that correct?
All of that was correct.
Okay, so that's what I mean by, okay, that's a demonstration of retention, right?
Yeah.
So because you use a visualization pleasure, so not only you can learn it, but also you can retain it for a long time.
That's so cool. Oh my God.